Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shannon Show. As you can tell from the title and the thumbnail of this video, this is the end of the year freak out book tag. I don't know if this has really been done on BookTube before. It probably has been. I wouldn't be surprised if it has been, considering how long BookTube has been going on. But I wasn't easily finding something, and I wasn't finding anything easily that had the prompts readily accessible, both within the video and within the description. I wasn't finding any videos that had the prompts accessible when I was finding kind of similar tags to this one, but as I said, it was a little bit hard to, so I was just like, you know what, let's just come up with my own that would probably have questions similar to that or prompts similar to that. And this is like any partway through the year freak out book tag where you have your updates for that part of the year. For me, at least, when I'm doing this video now and when I do it in the future, it's going to be during the last quarter of the year, so the last 3 months, October, November, and December. And that's kind of how I worded some of these questions. But if you want to do it later, kind of closer to the end of December or earlier before October, that's totally fine. But I had, as I said, I had phrased some of the questions with the October to December timeframe. But with all that said, let's get into this book tag. So the first prompt is, what is your yearly reading goal? It's 2024. For me this year, it's reading 100 books. A little screenshot of my Storygraph progress is showing up right around here. I've got to 92, I think, and I'm on my 93rd book. So I am doing okay. I'm on track. The second prompt is, have you reached your yearly reading goal? If not, how many books do you have to go? Again, I said I'm at like book 93. I've read 92 books, so I have 8 more to go, including the one I'm currently reading. The next prompt is, what is your favorite book of the year so far? Can be a top 3 situation if needed. The first one that comes to mind for me is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I think that's just because I've read it within close proximity of recording this video. That was a really nice, really easy book, kind of what I needed in the moment and what I expected. Also kind of what I want. Obviously not in every scenario for the mystery, murder mystery, crime books, that genre. I was expecting what that book gave. I was expecting what it delivered because the author is a comedian as well. So I wasn't expecting it to be like super serious, but I really enjoyed that. It's one of those things where it's like the minute you're asked like, oh, what's your favorite book so far? It's like, I'm drawing a blank right now. Another book that is probably above that one is Fate Be Changed by Farrah Rochon. It's a Disney twisted tale that answers the question of, what if Merida was given a different spell by the witch? What if the witch gave Merida a different spell? This one was definitely another favorite. The next prompt is your favorite series of the year so far. This one, there's a couple, but the one I'm going to go with is the Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine, Volume 2. The cover is showing up here. I read Volume 1 in my Anime Expo reading vlog, whatever I titled that. It's linked down below in the description. And I fell in love with Volume 1, and then at Barnes & Noble, I had gone one day, and I saw Volume 2. I didn't get it right away because I was like, I want to wait a little bit, but they only had one copy of it. And I went the next day or like a couple days later again. So it was that, and then I was also looking for Volume 7, I believe, of The Remarried Empress, which is another favorite series, but they didn't have Volume 7 anymore. Again, only a one copy situation, but they still had Volume 2 of this, and I was like, you know what, I'm getting this because I don't want to miss out on getting this right now. And I read this, loved it. I'm waiting on Volume 3. New favorite series. I did mention a couple there that are favorite series for, well, Remarried Empress I started last year, so I'm not going to count that, but Villains Are Destined to Die is another good one that I really liked. The next prompt is a new favorite author. Again, what's first coming to mind is Richard Osman, the author of The Thursday Murder Club. Again, I've read it in proximity to recording this video. I can't think of any other new authors that I've like loved and would say is a new favorite, aside from Richard Osman, that is. And then the authors of like some of the graphic novel series I mentioned in the previous one. The next prompt is your most anticipated release between October and November, or October and December. There are a couple. I am recording this near the end of October, but this is going up at the end of November, and by the time this video is out. My anticipated releases will be out. So there's Of Magic and Rum by Carly Spade, which is coming out November 9th, I believe. And then there's Hexed by Emily McIntyre, which is coming out November 5th. There are those two, but again, by the time this video is out, they're already released. So yeah, those are the only two I can think of, but again, anything after that or anything after this video is coming out, I can't really think of anything. The next prompt is a book you hope to get to within the last 3 months of the year. Also, yes, I don't have any physical books behind me like I usually do, and that is just because I am doing this video a little bit as I go, kind of impromptu. It just is what it is. For this prompt, a book you hope to get to within the last 3 months or however many months for you. For me, right now at the time of recording, it's like a little over 2 months. I'm doing 2 for this just because there's one where at this point I want to read it to see if I want to keep it on my shelf or unhaul it, and the other I'm 90% sure I will like it. Ooh, it's getting brighter. It's been a little bit cloudy this morning. Anyway, the other book is one I am 90% sure I will like. It's just actually starting it. So the first one is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, and this is the one I am hoping to kind of read to see if I want to keep it on my shelf or not still. My hesitance with this is that it has footnotes in it, which in fiction books really annoy me. Footnotes in fiction books really annoy me. Just because for me, at the end of the day, I don't think footnotes belong in fiction books and novels, because the way I view it, like when I was talking about it in my Babel reading vlog, or I think I mentioned it in relation to Babel in a video, I think, whether or not it was the reading vlog or later. But the way I see it, like I think I've said before in a previous video, is that if the information wasn't going to fit within the text itself, then it doesn't necessarily need to be included as a footnote at the bottom of the page. And if an author wants to like include that information, they can do it as an endnote, which is a section at the, it's like footnotes. I feel like everyone should know what an endnote is, but it's like endnotes are like footnotes, but they have their own section at the end of the book so that it doesn't interrupt the flow of the reading. Because for me, especially when it's a novel, less so if it's like a work of nonfiction, but if it's a novel, a work of fiction, then footnotes really take me out of the story, and it just really messes me up. It really takes me out of the story, and then I'm going back and forth on the page, just skimming over the page, rereading the page over and over and over again, trying to figure out where that footnote was noted, like where it was referencing to. And then by the time I find it, it's like I'm just so out of the story that I just want to set it down. So that's a large part of why I've held off on reading this book and I haven't picked it up. But at the same time, I've kept it on my shelf because I like the premise of the book. So it's like, I just want to read it at this point to see if it would be worth me keeping it. And then the other book for this prompt, again, a book that you want to read within the last however many months of the year. The other book for me is The Shadow of the Gods, and this one, again, I am 90% sure I will like it. It's just the size of it is a little bit daunting. Large books don't really daunt me, and it's only like, it's just under 500 pages, like 478 pages, so it's like just under 500. On the whole, I'm not really intimidated by its size. It's just, I think it's the size in addition to the content of the book that I'm just like a little bit unsure. The next prompt is any genres that you want to read more from within the last 3 months. Again, for me, it's like last 2-ish months at the time of recording. I have been trying to read more cozy mystery thrillers. Not necessarily cozy, but like I have been trying to read more mystery thriller. Not so much thriller, maybe like mystery, true crime stuff, murder mystery stuff. I have been trying to read more of that. I have also been trying to diversify like my fantasy reading, especially like subgenres of fantasy. The next prompt is any authors you want to read more of within the last 3 months. I keep wanting to fall back on Richard Osman because at this point I've already mentioned him a few times in this video, and again I've read The Thursday Murder Club, but I'm really trying not to repeat too much or repeat the same answers too much within this video. Maybe Elizabeth Lim. I don't know if I would get around to her other books. I know she has the Spin the Dawn duology, and there's also, I think she has 1 or 2 other books within the Disney Twisted Tale series, at least 2 other books that I haven't read. But again, I don't know if I'll get around to picking up her books this year. Ideally, I would like to. The next prompt is a holiday or holiday-esque book. The next prompt is any holiday or holiday-esque books you're looking forward to reading. I really want to try to read A Christmas Carol again this year. I read it back in 2018, I believe. I was listening to it as an audiobook on the flight back from Nova Scotia to Canada. Nova Scotia's in Canada. From Nova Scotia to California. I love Christmas Carol the movie, the one specifically, the one with George C. Scott, the Muppet one, and then the Mickey Mouse one. Those are the three that are my favorites. Those ones are the best ones out of all of the other versions. I know I have some friends who really like the Tom Hanks Scrooge one, and then there's also the Jim Carrey one, the Disney one. I'm just a little bit hesitant about those ones because I love the George C. Scott Christmas Carol. Like, that one is top tier in general. So I love those adaptations of A Christmas Carol. So I need to rewatch it again. I need to reread it. Excuse me. I need to reread it again. The next prompt is a book that fits the vibes of the current weather. So today specifically, it has been pretty cloudy for me, but the sun has been poking out. The book I'm currently reading, which is The Spell Shop, I'm blanking on the author name, but the title is showing up here. I feel like that is a good read for this weather. I feel like The Fox Wife by Yang Ji Chu would have also been really good for this kind of more cloudy weather. The next prompt is a book that would have been good for the upcoming months. I feel like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are good for any time of the year, but I feel like specifically Two Towers and Return of the King are really good for like end of the year reads to cap off your reading year. The last prompt is a book or author you need to read ASAP. So I read The Hobbit earlier this year. I think I read The Fellowship of the Ring as well. Something I've been trying to do, as I've talked about a few times on my channel now, is I've been trying to read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings once every year, and I just need to read the rest of the series this year. Ideally, I would like to get to those ASAP so I can read them by the end of the year, but again, I'm not putting that much pressure on myself. That is the end of the prompts and my answers for them. I am tagging anyone and everyone who wants to do this tag. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.